Start this off right.
I'd like to introduce you to the Church of Beers. When you listen to our program, you can leave your hopes and fears. We'll have a beer together, maybe a laugh or two. Church of Beers is just a place for people just like you. I'd like to welcome you to the Church of Beers. I'd like to welcome you to the Church of Beers. I'd like to welcome you to the Church of Beers. Let's all say cheers. At the Church of Beers.
Welcome to the Church of Beers, a show about craft brews and people, where we use craft beer as lubrication for our conversation. My name is Carlos Pastor, a.k.a. Pastor Los, and today I have two very special guests. I'm actually away from New York City, and I'm here in Zanesville, Ohio. My two guests are Michael and Kathleen Seiler. Thanks for coming.
Hi.
Or thanks for having me, I should say.
Yeah, it's nice
You're
to be
welcome.
here with you.
Okay, so normally what I would do, and is they really don't know about the show, but I'm just here. Normally do is we have a couple craft beers, and we talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And mainly I wanted to talk about some of your art, and Kathleen, some of your poetry.
Okay.
So Michael's art and Kathleen's poetry.
Correct.
I guess the way I'll start off with is we'll start off with the beer. So the beer that we have today is going to be Elysian's Brewery Bifrost Winter Ale. Doesn't feel much like winter outside right now. It actually feels like spring, but that's neither here nor there. It is 8.3% alcohol by volume, and it is an IPA. So just figure to do our
Very
first
good.
sips.
And
Yes.
it's a very hoppy, citrusy, nice beer.
Yeah. Very appropriate. Winter is ending.
I mean, is it like 60 degrees out there or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is 60.
I walked out earlier wearing a sweater, and then it was just too hot. When I came over here, I was like, I have to change to
Yeah.
an open shirt because I was dying in the heat.
When I got up, it was 35 this morning early.
Right.
And it's quickly come to 60. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I will talk a little bit about the beer. You tasted it before when you got right away started. That's awesome. I love it.
Yes, it's very good.
It's definitely it's got a nice citrusy.
It certainly does. Yeah.
Well, it's Sunday afternoon. It's a nice time to have a beer.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet too.
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
It's that I think when they make winter ales, it's like, okay, it's cold outside. You want a lot of bang for your buck. So 8.3% is a pretty strong beer.
It kind of warms you up. Yes.
It does warm you up.
It warms you up.
It warms you up. What do you guys normally like to drink? Are you beer drinkers, wine drinkers? Are you
Yes and yes.
yes and yes?
We have a local brewery in town here called
Yeah.
the Weasel Boy. Give them a plug.
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about them.
Yeah, they are really nice. They do nice craft beer. And all their beers are named after.
Something in the weasel family, and there are more than you ever thought you ever heard of. There are weasels, there are ermines, there are skunks, there are
Otters, aren't
otter.
they?
Oh no, otters are not.
Okay.
I was going to say otters
They're
in
in
the
the
weasel family.
muscalid family, so they all have a little bit of that skunky smell, but not all of them have very much.
You're talking about the animals or the beer?
The animals.
Oh,
But then they name each beer after some little animal in the muscalid family. So if you go look at their menu, it's just a riot, and they have little pictures of all these little guys all over the bar.
I was there the other day. I got to hang out with some of the staff. Very nice people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I hung out with a guy named Jimmy who worked in the kitchen, and Kelty, I think is her name. There's the bartender. Nice people.
Yes.
Very nice people.
Jay and I'm just blank. Lori started it as a kind of a hobby,
Okay.
and they said, "Well, we could do this a little more commercially." Space was available, and it just became a popular site.
They have music venues in there once a week or more.
Yep.
And they have gourmet pizzas, all kinds of
Yep.
like gourmet. I think it's a thin crust, and then you can order all kinds of very interesting toppings.
There's now, because the last time I came to town, first off, the reason why we're not drinking anything from Weasel Boy is because I'm here for such a short time, and they only sell their beers in growlers at this time.
Oh yeah.
If you're taking it home.
Yeah, I'm going to take it home. So
Yes.
I was really here for a quick
Right.
time, and so I
Another
needed.
time we have several empty growlers at the studio. We'll be happy to fill them up for you.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll definitely do that.
Okay.
I'll be back again to
Yeah.
to Zanesville.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. And they have been so supportive of the arts. And so when you come to Zanesville, there is a huge arts community. And that's one of our designs as artists, to revamp or rehab it or do something with the city.
We're just trying to renew the city, but it's not going to be like an old city resurrected. It's a new city. It's starting to live in its own way. So new things are coming in. New people are coming in. We like to mix it up with all the people who've always been here, but it has a nice arty vibe here now, and people are trying to make everything maybe not perfectly restored like Georgetown, but it's restored so that things are clean and we have good neighborhoods. We have a good neighborhood now. You know, your uncle is in our neighborhood.
Yeah. You know, I noticed the thing about Zanesville. I learned it when I was actually at Weasel Boy Brewery that night. I met some other people. Some guy named Uncle Bob, I think his name was. He's a photographer anyway. He's like, "Oh, you got to come to my art piece." I'm like, "Dude, I won't be here. I'm here literally like I'm a blink of an eye in time here."
Yeah.
But excuse me. So yeah, he was him and somebody else was telling me about how the Underground Railroad
Yes.
came through here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
This was a big stop on the Underground Railroad. Where Weasel Boy is in a section of town we call Putnam. It was the abolitionist side of town. Where we're sitting today was the pro-slave part of town.
okay, on this side of the river.
Yes, on this side of the river. And there was a war that took place on the bridge that crosses our main river from this side of town.
6th Street Bridge.
Yes. And there was some war that everyone knows the legend of it. And the two sides, the slave side, pro-slave side, crossed the bridge with torches, we are told, to burn down the abolitionist side because the traffic was huge over there. And the Presbyterian Church, who was...
Well, Harriet Beecher Stowe's brother used to pastor the Presbyterian Church in Putnam. So she wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Oh, she
which
really?
Some people credit with having started the Civil War. Well, it didn't really start it, but it sure got it added fuel to the fire.
Gotcha.
And so that was very abolitionist. It was all Presbyterian over there. And they were doing, you know, all kinds of abolitionist stuff. So there was like this little war, and nobody knows what happened in the middle of the bridge, but something happened in the middle of the bridge, and everybody just went home.
Yeah, the two sides met. No one has no legend, no records, no dialogue tells us what happened. But they got there to burn down, this side was going to burn down the other side, and they all met there, and they all went home.
So one big Mexican standoff, possibly?
Kind of something like that.
It was like, everybody's like, well, I don't feel like getting shot today, so.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, and we don't need to burn down our neighborhoods. But that was a huge stop, and the slaves escaping slaves, traveling slaves, whatever, would come up to there. That would be a station. And
up the river.
Up
They
the
would
river.
Come up the river. They would stay in somebody's house in Putnam, in the attic, or in some little part.
I also
of the
heard there were
house.
tunnels in some of the houses
There
that could
were
interconnect.
Some we don't. There are a couple historians that dispute how many tunnels were really there. In the basement of the Presbyterian Church, there was cut out a wall, and it looks like an arch. And then it's been filled in, 2-3 feet in, and it's just filled in. And the legend that we learned, if there was a tunnel from that church underneath the street and the trolley cars and all that to the river.
Which would be quite like 2 blocks.
Yes.
Sounded like kind of ambitious. And the historians say, no, that's not true. It couldn't have been. And then, but we know people got to the river somehow. So we don't know what happened, really. Nobody really knows. It was a secret.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
this town has some really interesting history that the first time I came here, I had no clue. I mean, I was telling another gentleman, I said that I was in New York and I was riding the train. I got off the train around 34th Street and they had some art installation up, and it was a not plaque. It was like a piece of tile inside of a box, and it said from Zanesville, Ohio.
Oh.
The Lincoln Tunnel is all tiled with Zanesville tile.
This was the pottery
so it was apparently in New York.
Of the
Yeah.
world. This was the pottery capital of the world.
Really?
We have the best clay anywhere. And when we lived out on the edges of town, we had a little farm out there, and we were digging a foundation for a new addition we were putting on the house. And Mike, who studied both pottery and painting in school, said, "This is pottery quality clay here. We're digging up here, and all through the whole area, that's what was here. So we had potteries galore." And Weller is from here. You can help me out with all the other ones.
McCoy, oh heavens.
All the art potteries mostly were here. Rookwood was a little farther out.
It was in Minnesota and stuff.
Someplace else. But we had all this good clay. So this was the clay pottery capital of the world. And
Well, the pioneers would travel on Route 40, or that road which became Route 40. And actually, Thomas Jefferson, I believe, opened up Route 40 from Cumberland to St. Louis after the Louisiana Purchase was made. And
he said, "Go west, young man."
I don't think he said that.
I think he did.
I don't think it was someone else that said that.
Somebody can correct us.
Yeah, someone can find out who said that.
Well, I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Anyways, the long story short is actually we have an old hotel, which was an inn on 40 at the edge of town, that Thomas Jefferson sent. What kind of a bush?
He sent a quince bush to the inn.
You
when
mean
they
a
opened-
quince, the thing that supposedly Adam ate in the Bible?
Well, we don't know if Adam ate that, but it's a little
fruit.
apple-y-like thing that blooms like an apple. It's got a red flower. It's more of a bush than a tree. Well, this bush, though, that Thomas Jefferson is supposed to have given to the innkeeper there is, well, it's like,
huge.
It's big for
It's still
a
there.
bush. But it's still there. It's like a big rhododendron bush now. It's like big. And quince usually don't get that big because they don't have time. But this is 200-some years old.
200-year-old bush, huh?
Yeah, from Thomas Jefferson. So
And
it's
so
a pretty big deal.
the travelers would come down 40. They would be starving and stuff. And actually, where our farm was located was just off of that Route 40. And our road was called Poverty Run because the pioneers who were starving and hurting would come out looking for food out on the
They ran
farms.
out of money about here, and so they just stopped. They didn't get very far west.
Wow.
But
So
when
real
they
quick
found
reference, you guys were both born and raised here in Zanesville?
No, we're imports.
Where are you guys from originally?
You first.
Well, I grew up in Worthington, Ohio.
Okay.
And
Which is
went
north
to
of
school
Columbus.
in downtown Columbus. Got nurses training back when girls got 3 years of nursing school and you were done.
So you're still a nurse at this time?
I have let my license go. I'm old. I can't
Retired.
see. I
was
can't
just saying.
see. I can't. You don't want me out there doing what people have to do.
What type of nursing did you do?
I did psychiatric nursing.
Okay.
About
In the
27
United States,
years.
we sure do need it.
We still do need it, but I can't read all the little bottles, and I think I would make mistakes. And under pressure, I don't do as well as I did when I was young.
Okay.
So it's about, there's a time when you just get out.
That's fair. That's fair.
Get
It's
out.
a very honorable.
Yeah, so I'm glad for the time I did. I loved it. We've sort of changed the way we do psychiatry in this country, and I'm sorry we have lost a lot. We've lost a lot of ground. We knew how to make people better, and the HMOs came in and wiped that all out. But now we can spend 15 minutes with a patient, and then we give them a pill.
Oh, wow.
There's plenty to do. Pills are good, but there's plenty to do besides just try out a new pill every week or two.
Right. Yeah, the pharmaceuticals have definitely gone a little buck wild with
Yep.
handing out pills, and now we have,
We have other problems,
Not to get too heavy, but like now we have the opioid epidemic.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
and people, we've abandoned all the mental health practices that worked, and our society's deteriorated. So people are not doing well, and we don't have any state hospitals, and all of our mentally ill are on the streets. There's a lot of problems with mental health, and so it was time for me to get out. I was angry all the time.
Gotcha. So, and Mike, you're from where?
I'm from Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
Which is a very cultural city up on the lake, south of Detroit. and it was an